So I'd like you to go to main, and then we're going to place a chart into main that's going to chart out the total size of the population, and it will also chart another one which will do the age of the population. So to add in a chart, we're going to go to the analysis palette, and we're going to place in a time plot. Now there's a couple pointers I need to give you with these to prevent you from making some common mistakes, and I'll do so, and I hope you'll listen advisedly. Okay, so this plot will be plot population size, okay? Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to, yes?
Which folder did you drop the latest model into?
I put it into the models built-in class folder off of participant resources. Do you see it? Yeah, okay.
V2 or V1?
V2. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So with this chart, I'm going to scroll down to the data update area here. I want this thing to update every 1 year. That will be fine. Maybe I'll make it updated every 1 month, just so it's clear. And I'm going to, and this is critical, where it says display up to how many latest samples. I'm going to have it display up to 10,000 latest samples. Okay, 10,000. And the time window will be indeed 100 model time units. Okay? And pardon me, I just was thinking in my head, the recurrence time is going to be every 1 year instead of every 1 month. Every year should be fine for this, for the population size. Okay, next. So we've just set some characteristics. What did we set? We set how often to update it, although we didn't change it. It's every 1 year. Display up to 10,000 latest samples. This is a classic thing to miss. And then the time window is 100 years. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So for the data update, we're going to say we do update automatically. Recurrence time is 1 year. Display up to 10,000 latest samples. The time window is 100 years. Okay? Okay. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We probably don't need this 10,000 now because we're doing it only every year. But okay. So the most important thing here is this data area. Okay, please go to the data area of the time plot. And you can press plus here. And the data set will be called population size. Okay? And where are we going to get the population size? Well, we're going to ask the population what its size is. So the value here is going to be this dot population dot size. Okay. Sorry? Yeah, it's a built-in thing, and the population knows how to take its size. Yeah. Are we okay with that? Okay. So now let's run this thing. Okay? So let's do it with no immigration. Here we go. And ladies and gentlemen, do you see the chart? You see the chart leading to a precipitous decline in population, but it tends to stabilize and fluctuate around 400 now. Do you see that? Okay, who needs help? TAs are ready to serve. Okay, who else needs TA help? Notice the population has now gone up to about 600. It's rising. It's rising to about 700.
Mine's rising very high. I have high fertility.
The age profile has changed, is right. Yeah, about 700 or so. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. It's going through waves of sorts. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's adjust this. This is an awfully short time frame here. This is 100 years. Given the scope, let's go see if there are waves. Let's look at more than 100 years at a time. Okay? So I'm going to set this same time plot to now have a time window of 500 years. Okay? And now let's see, are there waves shown? I suspect there are. So I set it to be 500 time units. In other words, 500 years. Just to see what's going on in terms of long-term fluctuations. Sorry? With no immigration. Okay, now that's really interesting.
It's just stochastics, though, right? Like there's no social network that's.
There's no social networks here that are.
In fact, so it's just replicated individual stochastics.
That's.
I think it's just because you set the fertility rate so high around 25. That
Yeah,
25
exactly.
is-
It boosts it.
You get a big load.
My population dies.
Yeah. I suspect you're probably right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next we're going to do something that Kurt will lead you on a further example of. We're going to add in a histogram of people's age distributions, okay, of people's age. Okay, so we're going to have this display a histogram of people by age. So we'll get a sense of the population age structure, both in its original form and as shaped by birth and immigration. Are we ready? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so we're now going to go back to the palette, and we will add in a histogram data object that's going to be called age histogram data. And we're going to add in a histogram that's going to depend on that histogram data object. So the histogram data object is going to hold the data to be plotted in the histogram. So this is called age histogram data. That's a histogram data object from the analysis palette. And then there's going to be age histogram data. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to depend on the age histogram data. So the chart is going to be called age histogram, and the data referred to in the chart, this chart that we added called age histogram, it's going to refer to this histogram data object. So it's going to be called, the title is going to be age distribution, and the histogram is going to be this.age histogram data. There we are. Are we okay with that? Are we okay with that? Okay.
Everybody caught up.
Okay, so we dragged in two things, an
It's gone over and then we need histogram as well.
age histogram data and then an age histogram.
I think already complete, yeah, age histogram data. Age histogram. And then of course, is that right?
Everybody can find it.
Yeah, did you name it age histogram data? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, so we have the age histogram depending on the age histogram data. And for the age histogram data, this is going to be plotting particular values. Now, for this, we're actually going to go down to data update, and we're going to turn off do not update data automatically. So, sorry, we're going to choose do not update data automatically, okay? We're going to tell it what to plot out for this, what data to include. Yes? Okay. So we added in a histogram data and an age histogram. Age histogram refers to age histogram data in this data area. We added this in and referred to it. And age histogram data, ladies and gentlemen, for this, we went down and we turned off, so updating data automatically. We said do not update data automatically. Okay? We're about half the way through this age histogram stuff. Are we ready? Do you want a little bit more time?
Yeah,
I didn't change anything. The only thing I changed was data update, and I changed its name. For data update, I said do not update data automatically. Are we okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
So that's now thinking value. Not yet.
Not yet, no. I'm going to put it in manually. Okay, next we will add an event. So once a year we're going to update the histogram. Okay, we're going to add an event that will be said, it will say update age histogram event. Just like that. Are we okay with that? Okay, and it will go off. Okay, now for this event, the mode will be, instead of occurs once, it will be cyclic. Mark my word. We just added this event called update age histogram event. I changed that name to be update age histogram event, and the mode of it will be cyclic. Remember that an event schedules a schedule of actual events firing off. Okay, it'll schedule a series of things that fire off, a series of events. And you can have events that are rates. We saw that earlier. They go off at a certain rate, like for immigration. Here we're going to set it to be cyclic, meaning it will go off at fixed periodic times. Okay? It's going to be cyclic. Very useful for reporting. If you want to report to a database or print out a file, or you want to report something out on a histogram or print it out or what have you, this is how you can do it with these histograms. With these events that go off cyclically. A reporting event, December 31st, midnight, it reports the number of people with TB in the jurisdiction or whatever. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, events are largely used, say almost overwhelmingly, very typically they're used to perform an action. They fire and something happens. It performs an action. So the action here is going to be where the action's at. Okay? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to update this histogram data object. And we're going to update it with what? What's going to go in the age histogram? The ages. Yes, the current age of each person in the population. So there's a little ritual you go through, a little script you go through when you're doing things with histograms. Let me tell you what you do when you're updating it in this way. First, you got to clear out all the old data because you want a fresh new set of data. So this is what you do. You say this.age histogram data dot reset. That clears out away the old cruft. Clear out clear out previous data. Get rid of that old data. Are we ready? Okay. Okay. And now I'm tempted, Dylan. Java 8 beckons. I think I'll do a for loop though. Person in this dot population. Oh man, I wish It would have been nice. Okay. Where it really is nice is when you filter and then you count, and that's sweet. Okay.
But AnyLogic makes it really difficult for populations for whatever reason.
It's gotten, so I found a better way to do it. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this dot age, I know it's amazing though how they fluffed that.
I have no idea why they would do it that way.
Yeah. Age histogram data dot add, we're going to add what into the data set? For each person in the population, what are we going to add to the data set? Their current age. Person dot current age. So let me explain this. So I'm going to put this up on the big screen, and then I'm going to try to explicate it, okay? So we're going to first clear out old data from the histogram. Then for each person in the population, that's what this says. For each person in this population, my population, we're in Maine after all, for each person, we're going to take that person's current age and we're going to add it to the histogram. Does that make sense? We're going to loop through each person in turn and add their data into the histogram. And yes, you can do without these curly brackets. It's a little bit safer to put them in case you modify this in the future in some way, but
Are they Histogram formatting, so they're not
indenting? Yeah, so you want to be very careful about making sure you indent the code in here, but as far as whether these are like that or whether indeed they're like that, that's a matter of aesthetics. My aesthetics are probably different than Dylan's and different than Kurt's. I will tend to do this or do this, but in any case, some people like them up here, where it looks like kind of an ear on it. Okay, so let's build it, and now let's run it. What should we see? Okay, if we scroll up and over, this is what we see. There's our histogram. And you'll notice that the histogram is changing over time. Look at that. In fact, you can even see the aging process. Do you see it? Look at that.
Does that mean people are living until they're 100?
Yeah, there are some people living to their ripe old age. Okay, thanks. So you can look at that. Yeah, so we need to tweak the mortality rates a bit. Now, we could change the number of bins there. You'll notice it's kind of peripatetically changing the number of bins. Let's change the number of bins, can we? Let's at least try to make it more regular. Okay, now, to be honest, I forget exactly. I think it's in age histogram data, the histogram data object, that you can frob the number of bins. You see it says number of intervals? Okay, now it says 10, but you'll notice that you can, the values range, if you go down to values range, it says automatically detected. Let's make it a fixed range. And let's make it 0 to 120 for the Methuselahs among the population. Okay? 0 to 120. Okay? That's for the histogram data object, 0 to 120. And now let's run it. And now we're seeing a more regular picture in terms of not shifting around as much. You notice the vertical axis is kind of jumping a little bit, and we could try to set that probably. But you'll notice now we're getting a population that tends to be younger, and hence it has somewhat higher birth rates. Okay. Yeah. So time is passing. It's kind of getting to a different distribution. Why are we seeing such fluctuations? You notice if you slow it down a little bit, the fluctuations are actually, they're proceeding longitudinally. This go up, and then that one, and then that one, and then that one. Basically, there is an aging process going on, but there's some statistical fluctuations just associated with the inflow of people, etc. So here's our age histogram. You notice it's very different than our initial histogram. I should have slowed this down. So let me go back to this speed. Let me stop it and start it again. Here's our original histogram. And over time, it starts to become rather different. It becomes, younger ages dominate. If we wanted to change it, I guess we don't have the option of changing the vertical axis, which is too bad. I guess that's not an option here. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's histograms and charts. Not too bad to do. Histograms require a little bit more mechanism because you got to loop over people in the population for a lot of cases. But basically, once we have that in place, we can plot out people's data.
How come I have negative age?
It's probably because there's a bin which is defined, the minimum is not 0, and it just overlaps. So sometimes what you get is it picks the bins itself. And so, Kim, sometimes it'll pick the bins, and it picks bins from like -2 to 2. And just because there's something at 0, 1, and 2, it puts it in this bin that includes, that in principle would include negative values, even though there's no negatives. But Dylan, I would check I would set the range for the x-axis there. I set it from 0 to under 20. Yeah, question. Julia.
When you're writing the code for the update age histogram event, you did the 2 forward slashes and wrote, is that?
That's a
How
comment.
you comment things?
That's a comment. This just, and it's useful, I could write here, loop over each person in the population, calling them person in turn, and now add that person's age to the histogram. Yeah, so those are comments. Now, there's 2 forms of comments. You can either put them like that. You could also put them above. That's a common thing. But another form of comments altogether is when you go like this, and that will be a block. This is a large comment block, and you can put many things in here. The purpose of this function is to construct a histogram of population ages, what have you. So this is a larger comment, but the most convenient, or the most common type, and probably the more convenient one, is this // But it only lasts till the end of the line. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Lunch is served. And Jeff, at what time will we be reconvening?
1:30.
1:30? Okay.
No, actually, I'm not sure what you want to. Yeah, 1:30.
Oh, this is off, isn't it? Yeah.
No, that's all right.
But this one is okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. 12:30. Sorry. So at 1:30. Yeah. Okay. 1:30 it will be. Okay. I'm going to post this model, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be called Open Population V3. There is, with Java 8's features. Okay, so this is great. So with Java 8, it supports parallelization of loops. And I was tempted to show people how to do it with Java 8 streams there, which would have allowed us to vectorize it. But I held off because I didn't want to be a bit too advanced. I may do it before the end of the boot camp. Then it could actually do a bunch of computations in parallel. In general, the population sizes that you're working with here, for populations, for looping over the population, you're probably not going to get a big win from parallelization, but you might get some.
Yeah, I'm just worried if you have extreme large population, that it's going to take forever.
It can take a while, and so if you're computing statistics, like you're slicing and dicing the data so that you're computing statistics on across the population of various things, it can be useful. And we have code which does that. Probably by the end of the boot camp, I'll give a little glimpse of how you can use it, particularly for doing things very nice like filtering. So you start with the population, you filter out people who fall in this age category, and then you compute for each of them these characteristics, and then you summarize it like this. It can be quite nice. So yeah, you can do that because it has all the attributes of Java 8. What's unfortunate is that AnyLogic, they haven't made it super easy to do that, but you can do it. And in fact, some of the models I've given the group here, they say like Java 8, and you'll find some features of Java 8 in there. Okay? Yeah.
The other question is, with support, you can also do like a update a scatter plot of the short
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
What about can you add question marks?
That's a good question. Let me just post this model for anyone who wants it, and I will. I'm not aware that you can do it automatically. That it automatically does it.
Time update.
Right. What you could do is manually do it. In other words, you could tell, okay, draw this line like this. But I think it would be it wouldn't be the most elegant thing. But you could manually put